Hey there everybody, it's the weekend, it's time for another monster video and the last of my epic dragon series, and I'm bringing two dragons to you tonight, Tufa, because they are very similar in their outlook and operations, but have a few marked differences, and that is of course the silver dragon, beautiful epic silver dragon, and the wise and all-knowing and aloof gold dragon. Okay, so where to begin? Boy. So these two dragons. Oh, by the way, I've got the old Captain America poster in the background there to represent the noble and self-sacrificing ideals of these good alliance dragons. So I'll cover the silver dragon first, and just as a comparison, the silver dragon, ancient silver dragon, has, if you look in the book, exactly the same physical and mental stats as an ancient red dragon. So they are just as powerful as a red dragon, but have a very different outlook on life. The effect on the land that they have, an ancient dragon, so winds will hold up allies that fall from cliffs and things. That if the dragon's aware of their presence in the 6 mile radius of its lair, it will cause the weather to hold them up and feather fall them to the ground. They can alter the weather once a day within that 6 mile radius and make it sunny or shiny or rainy or whatever. And they can work clouds into solid objects, similar to like you'd imagine a storm giant or something like that could do something like that. And you can have it so that their lairs are actually made out of partially solidified cloud, which is really epic and weird and fantastical and right in keeping with what you'd expect if you've come across the sanctum of a noble dragon. Their lair actions also revolve around that. They can create fog as per the spell for a round. It will then dissipate, but they can sort of coalesce it into the out of nowhere. They can also blast out a freezing wind that's like 120-foot cold wind that, if you fail a saving throw, can do 5 points of damage, and blow out flames and things. Unprotected lanterns and stuff will be snuffed out, and even lanterns can be snuffed out as well. So if they wanted to plunge the area into darkness, they might do something like that. Or if they're roaring at somebody to get away and they hit them with this freezing cold wind. They have a cold breath. That's one of their breath weapons. As well as a paralysis breath that has the same saving throws and range and things like that. And when you think about it, it's a pretty nice way of dealing with things, and not very nasty and aggressive. So freezing somebody they can sort of thaw them out eventually, I guess, or restore them. And paralysis is a nice way of putting somebody down, so that they can have a good stern talking to later, or just deposit them somewhere else. Non-lethally. And this is the important difference between the gold dragons and the silver dragons. The silver dragons' motivations in life are oriented around doing good deeds, being good, living a good moral life. So they respond to evil very strongly when it's in their presence, but unlike the gold dragon, they don't go seeking it out. Also the brass copper dragons, they don't go seeking out evil. They don't judge any creature just by its race. So they will deal with an orc or an ogre or something. If if the ogre comes up and it's not attacking the silver dragon will stop and listen to what the ogre may possibly have to say. It's not going to reject it outright. Of course, if the ogre does anything aggressive, it's going to pulverize the stupid sack of meat like it deserves. But they don't judge a book by its cover, and they don't go out of their way to harm anyone. They don't act aggressively unless it's in defense of themselves or others, because active evil is going on in their life. So yeah, they prefer to lair on high mountain tops, up in the clouds. So high caves or mines of say giants or something like that, or dwarves that are high up in the mountain reaches. Ancient wizard towers or watchtowers or citadels on mountain tops are ideal, and they could create for themselves a solid cloud lair as well, or maybe even take over an ancient cloud giant's, I don't know, grotto, holiday home. They love humanoids, particularly humans. They love the energy and drive of the younger humanoid races, so ones that aren't particularly long-lived, like elves and dwarves. They like humans and halflings. and they pay attention to their lives, and they collect objects of history such as thrones and signet rings, rare coins minted from ancient kingdoms, gems of note, crown jewels, crowns, inventions that humans have created, particularly the first edition of something, monoliths, statues of ancient kings that they may have known personally, that sort of thing. And they get attached to families, particular family lines, mainly because they get called away by dragon business, because they have an active community, and silver dragons in particular, are very active amongst themselves in their own dealings. They have their own society, and they get called away by the affairs of state per se, their family issues and things, and these are measured on a dragon's time scale, so they can be gone for decades, perhaps even sometimes centuries, and come back. And of course, the dragon looks for the humanoids that it knew and is dealing with their descendants, and they may see reflections of the people they once knew and the descendants that they're dealing with, and so they'll deal with a family over generations, and may do things like bring them artifacts and things that their ancestors have left them, or they could go to a place where one of their ancestors has fallen, unknown, lost out in the wilderness, and bring back items that that person had on them and bequeath them as a family heirloom to a family that they like, or to a particularly noble person that has raised up in that line that they think deserves it. So in that, they can be amazing benefactors. Of course, they won't do this in draconic form. They'll do this as the form of a relative that knows a lot about the family, who just shows up, and Uncle Traveling Matt comes back and, hey, I found this thing and it's been given to you by your great great uncle, or whatever. So yeah, you may know these guys as sort of a Gandalf the Grey type figure that travels around and says hello and just generally does good things. But they do return to Dragon Society, and they spend as much time in dragon form out amongst the other silver dragons, all dealing with brass or copper or whatever, as anything else. But yeah, you won't generally see them out battling evil, because they just won't do it. But they will stand up and battle evil that affects the community that they feel a strong attachment to. So silver dragons are good in that regard. But otherwise, you're not really going to see a lot of them. You'll know of their presence in the area by the sort of effects that an ancient one can have. But other than that, you'll barely ever know that they're there. Yeah, but of course, as strong as ancient red dragons, so physically extremely powerful, and once an evil thing goes up against a community or something and finds out that a silver dragon is protecting it, they're very likely to get their asses handed to them. Right, gold dragons. Gold dragons. Now, you see a lot of gold dragons in movies and things like that for the ancient East, and I think it's because they like the color gold, for one thing, but also gold dragons are renowned for being wise. Even amongst other dragons, they are legendary. However, they're very, very reclusive and very rarely seen. They're kind of like legends, myths, and yeah, so the effect that they have, an ancient gold dragon has on the environment, and this is ancient, so thousands of years old. It can talk to people in their dreams. Even if you slip into a sort of a daydream, this dragon can have its thoughts known to you, and once you come out of the daydream again, you will remember everything that this thing said. And that's within a 6-mile area of the dragon's current position or its lair. They create coloured mists, like opalescent, pearlescent sort of mists. Opals are a gemstone with lots of colours in them, so these mists have a sort of a rainbow coal tar sheen to them that swirls around, and they take on shapes of the dragon's dreams, or particularly when dragons sense, or if the mist senses an evil creature that's walking through this domain, because of this telepathic link, it creates spooky shapes in the mists that make you aware that something is not right, or make the dragon aware that something evil this way comes, and is an early warning system. They also cause gems and pearls and things to sparkle like supernaturally luminously, so that a diamond actually sheds its own light within a 5-foot radius, along with like emeralds and things like that will just be like shiny bright. So gems take on this amazing lustrousness, so that allows you to know that a gold dragon is nearby. In their lairs, they generally lair in out of the way, very remote areas or very unreachable places, or places that are concealed either magically or naturally. Um, Perhaps it's in a demi-plane, or it's behind a waterfall past a really impassable bit of landscape, and then you enter this beautiful glade or dell or pool or lake, a winding river through a moss-strewn ancient grove, um, or a ruin of ancient elven design with beautiful buildings and things like that. Um, so yeah, very nice places, idyllic places like secluded islands, misty islands, um, yeah, that sort of thing. Sort of places where it's an untouched wonderland, a secret garden that these things dwell in for thousands of years. It may even they could possibly have bred their own types of flowers or orchids or something. Just make it fantastical, right? When you enter a gold dragon's lair, you're in a place that nobody steps foot in, and particularly without the dragon knowing. The dragon knows exactly where you are. So they in their lairs, they have lair actions, such as they can glimpse the future, and they can also do this amazing attack, which would literally pull somebody out of reality and deposit them in a dream realm of the dragon's own creation, which is incredibly powerful. It's just, yeah, you're out of the combat, you're gone, until you make your saving throw, and then you pop back into reality again. And that's devastating. I mean, they can just pop out the tank, pop out the spellcaster, you're gone. Maybe even deposit the entire party in this weird dream realm. And the dream realm is whatever the dragon wants it to be. It could be nightmarish, it could be absolutely perfect and serene, it could be some sort of life lesson or demi-adventure that the character, the player, doesn't even want to get out of. Perhaps it's leading them on with some sort of secret that it knows that the player character really wants to know, so that they actually resist making the saving throw to leave the stream plane at all. Because the dragon's got a lot of intelligence and wisdom. They're renowned for it, and part of wisdom and intelligence is sneakiness, or knowing exactly how to manipulate others. Of course, the dragon is lawful good, and it's the harder version of lawful good. It's the more crusading lawful good, different from silver dragons in that they will actually actively seek out evil, and nip it in the bud. They want their idyllic glade to be everywhere, to be everything, good to rule, the celestial made manifest on the mortal plane. So while they are loners and aloof and renowned for being wise and respected by other dragons, but they're generally not seen by anybody other than their mate and their offspring in draconic form. That's the only ones they really treat with on a regular basis. Otherwise, you will not see them outside of the lairs for hundreds of years, unless they're travelling in disguise. And unlike the Gandalf sort of happy-go-lucky figure, they are more like a Saruman figure that is the wise and aloof and kind of cold individual that interacts with others, but it's wheedling out danger and evil, and it's manipulating heroes and decision makers and powerful forces in the kingdoms, whatever races live around it, to do its dirty work for it. So much like Gandalf will, kind of sacrifice others to get the job done to protect the greater good. This is what the Gold Dragon will be doing. And they're very wise, and they set in for, once they discover some evil plot or cult or incursion from the outer realms, they will set in motion a set of plans or backup forces, things they've set in play, guilds, that sort of thing, in various different disguises as they can shapeshift. And they will put them all at work for them to basically fight evil. So you never know, that patron that you meet in the bar may in fact be a gold dragon that's been around for thousands of years, and you'll have no idea that you're actually working its will. In physical combat, they're not the most physically powerful creature compared to other dragons, at least, but they breathe fire, epic amounts of fire. Not only that, they can also weaken you with their breath weapon, which is quite devastating because it just basically blasts your strength attack. So melee fighters, that's their worst nightmare really. Reducing your strength, getting disadvantage on every single melee attack that you make, your damage just being neutralized. Not only that, but your party members are disappearing because they're flying off into dream realms, and the dragon is like gazing into the future and getting advantage on every attack roll, every saving throw, every ability check, every round that this thing is deciding to just glimpse into the future. So it's like fighting a god. It's like fighting a dream. So yeah, gold dragon is highly powerful and to be respected for sure. But again, in an adventure sense, you're very rarely going to see these things unless you're actively seeking them out. And they are potent magic users and sages and scribes. So they will use all sorts of wards and things to protect their magic and their treasure and their home and keep their ideal little glades, lairs safe and secret. So you won't know they're there. Yeah, so that's the last two dragons. I hope you enjoyed this series. Next up, due to popular demand, I'm going to be dealing with our good old friends, Giants. The Giants series is up next. I'm going to be covering exactly what the giant is and is not, what can be considered a giant kin or not, and all the different types of giants. So stay tuned. Thank you very much for all your comments, and I'm very, very glad of all those people who have left me messages saying that they've got a greater understanding of dragons and are putting them into active use of their game thanks to the stuff that I've been babbling away to you guys. So thank you very much for all your comments. It's very, very encouraging, and yeah, onwards and upwards.